Okay, so let's talk a little bit about exactly how our translations are being done. So we're using this I-18 Next library. Actually, what we are using is the React version of that, which is just React I-18 Next. This library we touched on a little bit in the previous video, but it basically it does all the heavy lifting for us, so we can say, hey, here are all of our translations for Spanish, French, whatever, and then can you please make that translation when we ask. It's a pretty well-known library. It has some cool APIs. I'd recommend checking out the docs if you're curious. Okay, so a little bit about how that actually gets connected to our app. So if we go into our app.js, favorite place, you'll see that we are using something called the I-18 Next provider, and this is a provider wrapper that does the same exact thing that a Redux provider would do. So the same way that we have our provider store that wraps the entire app and that makes our store available to all of our child elements via context and a higher order component wrapper. The same thing is happening here with the I-18 Next provider, which is exactly what we want, because we want the ability for any child component anywhere in the app to be able to make translations. So it doesn't matter which component I am, I'm always going to have copy, and I'm going to need the ability to translate it. I'm going to need the ability to hook into this I-18 and configuration so that I can get the translations when I want them. So that's good. The annoying part about that is that would mean that every time that I wanted to make a translation, again, so for almost every single component that we have in the app, I would need to wrap that component in a translation higher order component, and probably as well as a Redux component, which is a little annoying, and for some other reasons, but that being one of them, we decided to make a translate component itself. So this translate component makes it so that we only have to use the higher order component and this particular component, and then we can use this component throughout the rest of the app without having to worry about all of these wrapper functions and stuff like that. So you'll see I'm importing translate from the React I-18 Next library, which is it's like connect from React Redux, but it's just the wrapper. It's just the higher order component wrapper. So if we come down here, we'll see that I'm first wrapping it with translate, then it gets wrapped with Redux again. And that's the component that we would use. So to kind of show you the end of what that would look like out in the wild, I'll show you just with the little documentation that we do have here using the translate component. So basically you would import the translate component from our components and give it the key name that you want. So in this case, we want to translate the copy your account. So then in our translation files, and this would actually be like that, we would have a key value pair that maps your account to what it is in German. So that's cool. And then using the translate component, we also are able to include variables in a React way. So this is another example of when we might want to use a variable in our translation, like copyright tablet incorporated 2019, whatever. So now you can just pass in the variable that you need year, and then we use this interpolation syntax. It's a little weird. I don't know. I didn't invent it, but that's what we use. Percent parentheses, the variable that you need, and then closing parentheses, s. So then that would get interpolated to the German version of copyright tablet 2017, 2019. Okay, so that's what it looks like in the end, and that's pretty easy. So let's, in the next video, go through the translate component in a little bit more detail.